Hello and welcome to BW TV. Today we are here at 8th edition of IHA BW Hotelier Indian Hospitality Summit and Awards. Thank you so much for joining us, Samir. Tell me, from your viewpoint, what are some of the major trends you are seeing in the current landscape of Indian hospitality sector? And also tell us a bit more about the trends you are seeing or you're foreseeing which will shape the industry in the next 5 years.
So firstly, a big thank you to the BW team for inviting me over and having me on the panel. Indeed a pleasure to be here. And a huge congratulations for the wonderful way you have organized this day one of the IHA sessions. So congratulations. Now coming back to the question, what do I see in terms of trends in the industry and where do I see this going forward over the next 5 years? I think India is on that cusp of very fast development over the next few years or the next decade. We've already started seeing signs of it over the last few years. If you look at the way India has transitioned, especially post-COVID, we have had great improvements in infrastructure. We have heard through the day the number of airports doubling from 70 to 130 going to probably 200 plus over the next 5 to 7 years. The quality of roads and the road infrastructure improving by the day. We are growing our road infrastructure at a much faster pace than ever before. And of course, the quality and accessibility to train infrastructure as well. So between these three modes of travel, clearly India is seeing a huge level of improvements, which makes it easier for Indians to travel, along with the fact that over the last few years, the need to travel or the desire to travel has gone up considerably more amongst Indians. So I think we also heard during the day that we are now one of the biggest outbound travel markets. So the challenge for hoteliers like me is to try and keep the Indian traveler within the country and tell them to look at and potentially visit more places. So in terms of trends, I think one, improving infrastructure means there is going to be more opportunities for travel. Two, the changing demographics with the Gen Z and millennials coming into the workforce means that there is going to be a whole new segment we are going to be targeting or looking at. The three, the desire to travel is a lot more today than say 10 years back. And then of course, four, people are wanting to spend more on experiences today than on materialistic acquisition. So overall, it bodes well for the hospitality industry. And I think the mid-scale industry is going to see a faster growth across our various segments of the industry as well.
It's really a happening time to be in India currently for hoteliers like you. It's a happy factor for me when I have been listening throughout the day that there is a great stress on how hoteliers like you and other stakeholders in the industry are stressing on domestic tourism more. And also you touched upon mid-scale hotels and tourism. Talk a little more about it. In your address also you touched upon this. You also said in 2022 we have seen luxury taken shape, but now is the time to enter this space. What would you say more about it?
So I think it's a great time not just for hospitality in India, but it's, I think, generally a good time for the economy because we are at that cusp of growth, which is bringing us to a great stage compared to many other countries. So generally, if you look around the world, global economies are facing challenges in terms of economic growth compared to us. And primarily, the big differentiator is the domestic demand, and the domestic demand being driven by a much younger workforce. So if you look at the age of our workforce compared to most of the developed economies, I think we have a huge advantage, and that advantage will take us over the next 2 to 3 decades in terms of how we will be as an economy. So generally, consumption is going to be on a high over the next 3 decades. And as hoteliers or hospitality industry will, of course, see some upside with that as well. And primarily, that comes from the fact, as I mentioned earlier, that there are more people willing to travel. And the ease of travel, of course, aids the willingness to travel as well.
Perfect. You will be the generators behind this great growth. Do you see a scope for government to come in even more aggressively to kind of support this growth, to back this growth? I understand that post-COVID, government is a little more bullish for travel, tourism, and hospitality. But tell us, what scope do you see that government needs to focus on, work upon?
So I think while we might not have seen huge direct interventions to aid the hospitality industry. The biggest factor helping us as an industry is the infrastructure growth. So while the infrastructure continues to grow, as I mentioned earlier on as well, across airline, rail, and road networks, that aiding travel itself is the biggest catalyst to helping us grow as an industry. Of course, if there's anything else which we would like to have as an industry, it's probably looking at according industry status to hospitality, because that would be a big fillip to investors in general and make it a lot more attractive as one of the asset classes which they would like to invest into.
You touched upon investment. Since you already touched on this, tell us what are some of the other segments investors are being attracted to? What are some of the segments they are eyeing to invest in?
So I'm assuming you're talking of segments within the hospitality industry. I think, look, business travel continues to be on the upswing, and key cities continue to see great demand growth. If you look at the potential supply increase over the last 3 years and over the next 3 to 5 years, they are probably in low to mid single digit increase in supply, while demand continues to grow at a faster pace than the supply growth across most markets. So clearly investors do have better opportunities to invest into, whether it's in business locations, in commercial hotels, or in leisure locations. The demand for the offbeat locations is definitely growing at a faster pace than before, given the need and desire for experiential travel. So that's another area which investors would potentially like to look at.
Thank you so much for joining in. Thank you so much. It was
My
lovely
pleasure.
speaking with you. Thank you.